Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton, Geoffrey, and Adam Ross here. Adam, off the top, we are recording this on Monday. So if you're seeing this on our regular Tuesday, we are 24 hours ahead of you. But we had some scheduling issues, but want to make sure we got out. Last time we tried to flub it, Adam, and we stumbled over a few times, so might as well just hit that off the top. How are you doing?
I'm all right. We went down to the waterfront today. We were down in Burlington, went for a long walk. Lots of people were out taking in some great weather. So yeah, I'm feeling good. A little bit of sunshine, some vitamin D.
Yeah, beautiful weekend here in Southern Ontario for our holiday Monday. The weather was certainly good for racing, that's for sure.
Can I
Of course you can.
can I ask you this, because you're older than I am, and we're both pretty old to begin with? Has
Okay.
there ever been a May 2-4 weekend that had better racing weather than this weekend? This weekend.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, even the forecast leading up to it, there was no question it was going to be a beautiful one for weeks ahead of it. And I think you're right, and that's just adding more salt to the wound. I thought you were going to ask me, was there a more frustrating May 2-4 weekend when we should have been racing, and it would have been last year. But no, you're right. It was gorgeous this weekend.
I'm over it.
Temperatures were
I'm
perfect.
Yeah, I'm over the frustration of this would have been, this would have been. I'm looking ahead when we get to go racing. I'm ready to go. So yeah, I don't think I'll complain too much anymore about, oh, we should have been here this night and there that night. And I'm ready.
No,
Let's go.
it's probably because if the saying you can see the light at the end of the tunnel ever made sense, I think it makes sense for racing more now than ever. We do have a bit of a roadmap to reopening, but there was a lot of speculation about what went on. So let's just set the timetable a little bit in our race chat world. Tuesdays we normally are on the air, and it seems like all the juicy stories always come out Wednesday or Thursday for us. This big racing announcement, and we say racing announcement, was a sector by sector announcement in the province of Ontario that stipulated who and when they could go back to racing under what terms and what other businesses too. Racing and motorsports were directly mentioned, and we want to send a big pat on the back to our next guest, Mark Rinaldi, who we'll bring in now. Mark was a big a player in getting the government to come on board and at least start the talks and acknowledge that racing was its own, if we can call it a sector, and got things going. Mark, I know there's not a lot of news for you to roll out right now, but just hang with us as we kind of lay out the news as it came out Thursday, and then the speculation from every amateur race promoter in the province on what we were allowed to do and what we were not allowed to do. But you also gave a direct response back to the government, and that's what we're going to get to. So, Spencer, throw up that slide if you can of the it was the chart that was put out by the government that specifically said what we could do. And in that, it says motorsport speedways. And so column 1 is motorsports and speedways. That's the sector. Column 2 is where we are right now until June 14th. And it specifically says we're closed.
No,
then
until the 14th or the 2nd?
14th of June. Am I wrong there? My understanding is 14th of June.
I haven't
Mark,
seen. I've looked at the
14th of June.
So
14th of June.
Yeah, so we're in column 2 till the 14th of June, which is closed. Column 3 then it comes up. Yeah, we got you, Mark. Outdoor capacity with crew restrictions and no spectators in column 3, which we're looking at, would be from June 14th till approximately the 5th of July if the 3-week timetable holds. And then after the 5th of July, open with spectator capacity and other restrictions. And then beyond that, which would probably take us till the start of August or a couple weeks after, open with spectator capacity and other restrictions. So, Mark, do you concur with those facts? We're stuck basically closed until the 14th, and at that point, speedways can open and start practicing or racing, but still with no fans until what we're anticipating is July 5th. Is that how you're anticipating or reading what we're seeing here?
Yeah, sorry, I was just having a bit of internet problems there. I don't know. Can you hear me now?
We got you, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, basically your roadmap that you put up there is correct. How we read it, and also what they did put out. Clint, I shared a bit of information with the other promoters. Um, we have gone back and asked them to revisit a few things. We've asked to start practicing sort of right away as part of outdoor recreation, and then we've asked, can we look at some spectators as early as June 14th? Right now, they say no spectators, but we're asking them to revisit that, and then we've asked them to clarify, on around the 2nd of or the 5th of July, like you guys said. Um, what does that capacity actually look like? How many people are we going to be able to put in the grandstands?
So just to, I'm going to read your exact email, Mark, just so we have your words, so everybody knows exactly facts. Your question number one for the government: can we open up for racing? For practicing as of May 22nd as part of outdoor recreation, as you mentioned. In step one, will we be allowed spectator up to 15% capacity, same as other non-essential businesses? And 3, what do you, meaning the government, anticipate the outdoor capacity be at venues like ours in step 2? So, there's some very pointed questions, and we're just trying to clarify. Mark, do you have any timeline as when you think you might see response to that email? Maybe from history of dealing with them, or any pressure you're putting on?
I think that now that they have a roadmap, it gives them something that we can at least have a conversation about. I know we went through a period there in the last month where it was pretty silent and not a lot of two-way communication, I guess you could say. So now that they have a roadmap, immediately I was talking to the Ministry of Tourism, and he was giving me feedback and told me you're looking to get us answers. So I'll follow up with him again this week. I also sat in on a conference call, a live call with Lisa McLeod, the minister for the Ministry of Tourism, Sports, Heritage, Culture, and Industry, and she basically gave her interpretation of the new rules that had come out and when she saw things happening. So I would say that there is a roadmap, and there is, like you said, how you put it, light at the end of the tunnel. I wish I did have more answers for people right away, but unfortunately we don't, and we'll just continue to press the government for answers.
Adam?
Clinton, I had more conversations, by chat last week with different people in the industry. What I'm most excited about is that speedways have a seat at the table. It's so, if speedways weren't mentioned, if motorsports wasn't mentioned, we would still be in a gray area where nobody would even want to address it from the government because they're busy addressing things that are on the list, that are in documents. So the fact that Mark spearheaded that to make the government recognize motorsports, I think we just need to take a lot of optimism from that to say, look, they have to provide answers. They've put it in their documents. They may not always be the answers that we want, but at least we can expect answers, and we can look forward to Mark to continue to do what he's been doing. So, Mark, you've done a fine job to this point. What are your thoughts for Brighton Speedway? So based on what we're seeing right now, what would your best case scenario be for your own track, Mark?
I think that, based on this best case scenario, we will plan to probably start practicing the week of the 14th, and maybe even hold the first race with no spectators, if that's what they're saying, is no spectators, on the 19th of June. I don't think we'll run weekly until we're allowed spectators, but we'll probably, I've talked to Clint about this in the past, probably do some sort of bi-weekly events, or schedule whatever makes sense. What makes sense best, I guess you could say, depending on the support we get from racers and sponsors and everybody to make that happen. As everybody knows, it's kind of tough to do a no fans event without support of racers and sponsors. So.
For sure, Mark. I don't want to take any more of your time. Adam, you got any more questions for Mark? We appreciate you coming in on Holiday Monday, Mark, and joining us here Just it is current news, and you're the best answer we've got as far as what the government's really saying.
You're our only hope, Luke.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know about that. But one thing I'll add though is, people, this whole new system is based on, obviously it's contingent on numbers continuing to trend in the right direction, but it's based on vaccine percentages of vaccines, right? So, if there's one thing that people want to do to help get us back to the track, it's get out there and get your vaccine, get your shot. I know there's a certain amount of people that just don't want to, but if you're not opposed to it, then make the effort and then go out and get it, and then we'll all be back at the track a lot sooner rather than later.
All right, Mark. We
Well
appreciate
said.
your time, and we'll definitely be in touch. You're going to have to explain this to us week by week as we get back to it, but we appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Clint. Thanks, Adam.
Talk to you
Thank
soon,
you,
Mark. Have a good day. I think Mark's growing a playoff beard like the hockey. He's going to let that beard grow until we get to go back to racing. But no, all jokes aside, Mark's been an awesome friend to us and the show, and every racer in Ontario, really, when you look at it. And him and his family have definitely been the point folks behind this whole thing to get us on the right path, and we're close. So, Adam,
We're getting there.
What did you take about that? When we started laying out the program, you kind of balked and said, that's not what you were hearing. So what are you hearing these days?
There's cars on the track. Cars on multiple tracks. Right? I mean, call it what you want, but there's race cars running. I think things are going to happen a little quicker than how it's laid out there. I think there's all sorts of little loopholes, but there's still people that are just going ahead with their business and getting the cars on the tracks. I think we're going to be pretty busy from mid-July through to probably the end of October, Clint. I'd like to talk later in the show about vaccinations and about the things people say on social media and out loud, and there's a lot of ways to take it, but you got to consider the repercussions of sharing your opinions in certain cases.
All right. I'll let you let me know when you're ready to talk about that.
I think it'll be a buzzkill, so we'll do it at the end.
What I'm concerned with is, like you said, every track is twisting this their own way, which can be dangerous because we're worried about, problems coming back. Like, we're right at the finish line. Let's not trip this one up. But, that brings us into, I'm going to skip over the Oshweekend situation. We'll come back to that in a second. That brings us to the third topic on the rundown, which is, do the track owners have the balls? What that means is that's a common thread since this whole thing started, but really got picked up on the weekend, was there's some rogue types out there who figure the track should just go ahead and open and take a stand, damn it, and open your doors and thumb it up at the government and say, forget it, we're going to do what we want. Now, sure, every track would want to do that, but is it really smart to go out and, poke the bear when the bear comes back in the form of tax audits and health inspections and, food service audits and all kinds of other problems, liquor license trouble? Racetracks are already a terrible neighbor in the neighborhood. Let's face it, we're not the most welcome folks as it is. Why actively go out and piss everybody off when we're at the finish line? It just doesn't make sense. So I would answer collectively for all the other promoters in the room and say, no, they don't have the balls. And it's a smart move because they don't need to have the balls. And you guys just need to be patient.
I think it's easy to say what tracks are going to go first. Like Cornwall Speedway was putting more people in their facility, in their venue than anybody else last year. My logic says look for Cornwall Speedway to open up sooner than anybody else. I know that Flamborough Speedway has been in communication with local bylaw and local officials. So I kind of think they'll lean the other way. They'll lean conservatively on reopening because they know they have a lot of eyeballs on them. And as you've said, Clinton, there's a lot of neighbors around there that aren't crazy about a racetrack anyhow. You've got promoters like Don Speece that was really wanting to get things going. So I look for him to find any loophole he might be able to find or any reason to get going as soon as he can. And then there's other places that are further around that we don't have a feel for. Places like Full Throttle, places like Southern Ontario Motor Speedway. There's a lot of things at play here, and we don't really have a horse in this race, Clint. We do our thing. You and I have talked about scheduling in the last few days, like in the last week, and I don't think we have any answers just yet. We have a lot of guesses as to what we think might happen, but that schedule is being written lightly in pencil.
Yeah, I tried to get a feel from some of the track promoters today before we went on the air to figure out where they stood, and a lot of the consensus is that they were going to practice. Like, I would say a lot of them felt you couldn't jump, and this is with the assumption that they're all going to keep closed until June 14th. So unless the government comes out with something specifically and tells Mark, yes, we'll allow 5-car practice sessions per hour or something like that, I think you're going to see a lot of the tracks. I would say maybe 75% of the tracks would err on the cautious side and just start doing the prep it's going to take to get ready to open for something on the 14th. And with that, a lot of the tracks I've heard was they're not exactly excited to open on the 14th and jump into racing on the 19th. So we'll see how many tracks make that jump. And also you have that consideration of no fans. So it comes back to the economics. Could you have a pure stock, mini stock, V6, mod light, street stock night and make it make sense? Yes. Can you have a top division night and all that? Probably not making sense without, and by making sense, we're talking financially, without a lot of support in the back door. Now, this is the time a lot of sponsors have had money. You never know who's going to step up and fund that extra $5 to $6 grand it's going to take to run a late model or a 360 race. The Knights of Thunder, we've said we've got funding. We're trying to figure out what dates we can move around. So I don't know how many tracks you're going to see jump right into races on the 19th, or some who may hold practice for a couple of weeks until we get to July 5th, where they can at least have what we anticipate would be 100 fans and then go back to the math we knew last fall. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've heard some drivers and people affiliated with racing saying, well, promoters are just going to keep charging $250 a car because they got used to it last year. And sometimes you want to give someone's head a shake, because $250 a car does not make profit. It covers the bills. It lets you hold a race. Like, it keeps things active, but it doesn't make you money. So I think it's going to happen quickly. I think people are going to get on the same page. We're all going to have a metaphorical group hug and go racing. And I think we're going to see some big, big numbers.
Big numbers in which way? Car counts, fans?
Yeah. In fact, a topic a few down the list. In fact, the next topic is why I think we're going to see some big, big events, big car counts at tracks we're not used to seeing big car counts at.
All right. So just to wrap this up, we're going to be following the story, obviously, to find out when tracks are going to be moving on. We'll try and keep you abreast of that. But yeah, even some of the tracks, they've said, hey, we got to get out there. We got to make sure all the lighting works, the timing and scoring, jumping right into the boiling water. Maybe not the best plan if we could warm it up for a week or two, get these cars out there, get them going. But like you said, there's lots of different classes. We have seen A and B schedules from a lot of people. And when you talk about the horses we have in the race, well, of course, I got my hands in the sprint car side of things, but we've also got G-Force, which plays a huge role in where we end up. And a lot of these Saturdays, we're biting our fingernails saying, I hope they don't step on each other's toes, because we want to cover them both. So we'll keep working at that. Let's jump into the next topic, Jukasa, and we'll cycle back to the Oshweekend situation. Jukasa says no go in 2021, Adam. This was something that was rumored for a while, that, with a facility like Jukasa and them not having weekly events, maybe it just didn't work for the super events, because, as you know, a lot of them are border heavy, whether it be the super modifieds or the Wheeling modified tour that type cars they were bringing up, to the Canadian short track Super Nationals, which had a lot of American interest. Your thoughts on this? Not a surprise, but now it's official.
Yeah, I'm disappointed for the teams who are disappointed that they're not going to be racing at Jukasa, Clinton. I've expected this for quite some time. It's very tough. Like you say, it's very tough to get ready for a race season and jump right into it. And things have been really quiet on the Jukasa front. And really, you can't blame them, because if you have nothing to say, don't say it. If you can't dig out any good news, don't say anything. And they had to put this out to say that nothing will happen there in 2021. So disappointed for the teams that love going there. I enjoy going there, Clinton, but the way I look at it, I know that there's other facilities that'll pick up the slack and host some big races, and I'll enjoy that too. So from that end, we'll see what happens. We'll see what shakes down.
Let's just read the official release, because we kind of showed it on the screen. But Jukasa Motor Speedway cancels the 2021 season. Management for Jukasa Motor Speedway has made the difficult decision to cancel the 2021 season due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. With the uncertainty of the international border crossing for competitors and fans, unknown allowances for on-site support, and the evolving costly safety protocols, the decision to cancel the season was made at this time to ensure competitors, fans, and staff, those who purchased reserved seats, general admission tickets, and campsites for the 2020 season that were postponed to 2021 will automatically be refunded their purchases minus their service fees. For more inquiries, please email info@jukasamotorspeedway.com. So there's your official deal. Yeah, Adam, that's going to be a shakeup. The races we knew that were already scheduled there would have been 2 for the APC series and 2 for the NPS series. So trying to see where they are going to end up falling now. That was news also. I'm not sure did we cover that last week, but the Pinty series has put out a notice. They'll be postponing everything until August and September. So they're not even messing with July. It's crazy to think we're talking about scheduling stuff in August already. Go ahead.
Remember the additional problem Pinty's has is interprovincial travel has not been opened up.
Yeah.
And you can't have a NASCAR Pinty series without Quebec coming to Ontario going to Quebec. So really and that occurred to me after we had some conversations, Clinton. I thought, okay, that makes sense, because they can't, you can't have a race without all of them. They need all of them.
Yeah, and there's talk of them moving all over the place, and you're right. Quebec was locked down a lot harder than Ontario was, but that was a story you and I fought about in the off week too. Was that they're allowing fans with 2,500 people in groups of 250 already. There's fans at the Montreal Canadiens game that's airing tonight against the Leafs. So I think there's no fans there tonight. I thought they were allowing 2,500.
No fans not until game 6.
Got ya.
If it goes that far. Yep.
Okay.
Everybody is. It's quite often, I think people, and I'll include myself, we don't differentiate ourselves from the United States, right? We want to be proudly Canadian, but at the same time, we watch their TV stations. There's so many things that are shared across the border that all the border is, Clinton, is a bit of a delay to get where we're going. Right? You hope to travel when there's not a big lineup. When something like the COVID pandemic hits, we really see what a difference there is between our two countries and the mindsets that drive them, and just how decisions get made and why decisions get made. And we can complain all we want. And people complain about Premier Doug Ford. Well, they're going through the same thing in every province across the country. Now, down east, they weren't hit nearly as hard as we were in our part of the country. So they've opened up. They've been having some races down there. But by and large, I think this has been a bit of an eye-opener to say, hey, maybe we're not the extra United State north of the border. We're Canada, and we have our own government that makes decisions in different ways than the American government does.
Even along those lines, like you mentioned, the provincial changes just between that imaginary line on the 401 where it ends and goes to, what is it, Highway 20 in Quebec or something. It's pretty wild. we're still going to get back to the Ashweekend situation because we finally found some diagrams from Six Nations that I think is going to explain the situation. But our next guest is on, so we'll bring him in as we know he's been very busy as well. We'll welcome Paul Cole now from Land of Legends Raceway. Paul, there's so many things we want to discuss with you. Hopefully you got a few minutes. First off, congratulations on a successful kickoff to the 2021 racing season at Land of Legends. For our viewers who may not be familiar with the name change we're talking about, formerly Canandaigua Speedway. But Paul, I got to tell you, as a manager and promoter up here of Ashweekend, there's nothing prouder I see than when all the staff are going home talking about how great all the events are. You know, you see Tana, you see the Ovens boys, you see everybody out there talking about, wow, another kick-ass night at the track. And the fans are throwing it back. The race teams are – it's got to make you proud, Paul, of everything that's gone on so far.
Yeah, I can only take credit for laying out the design. The execution all falls on them. And when the execution goes well and everything comes out with a great night, everybody takes pride in their work, and they get to take home that reward just the same. And we started out with two great shows, and really excited about the ones that are coming up.
Paul, no doubt about it. And the other metric that I use, when you have a 50-50 draw that's over $2,000, that's a big night at the races. I know people like to gamble, but that's another way to say, because you can take pictures sometimes of grandstands. If you take the right angle, you can make it look fuller than it actually is, but you can't fake a $2,000 50-50. So you guys are firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, the best part about it is it goes to a charity, local. Every week we do that for the local charity. It's not to go in my pockets or in the pockets of the track per se. It's all about taking care of our community and working together. And this week the 4-H group, we're at the Ontario County Fairgrounds. The 4-H Horse Club gets some good donation to be able to help with their projects for this year. A lot of these community-based groups and nonprofits are struggling from their fundraisers and things being slowed down by COVID as well. So we're happy to give back.
Paul, talk to us about the live stream program. I know you followed kind of what we did at Ashweekend up here a little bit and saw how it worked out for us. You guys bought into the free stream platform. Grandstands are still packed. Is it working out how you thought it would have been? Is there any pitfalls? Well, tell us a bit about how the stream relates to the live crowd and what it's been like.
Well, we're 2 weeks in, so everything is pointing the right direction. We've had huge attendance online. We had a little snafu between our provider and Roku. We actually was on Roku's end that hampered our Roku stream this week, but so it stunted the numbers a little bit. But boy, it's working great so far. Our advertisers are happy. Our drivers are happy. Their fans are happy. It's reflecting in the grandstands already. People are excited. They know what racing is going on, and we're making new heroes and new fans out of people across the region. And that's what it's supposed to do. The racetrack. Anybody can go race down any back road, and everybody can put $500 in and race for the pot. But to actually engage the fans with advertisers and market it, that's the key part of what a racetrack is all about. And that's what we're going to do. And there's been no better way than to advertise it, monetize it that way, and dramatically expand the number of people that are watching racing in the Northeast. And I know there's been people in the pits all over the Northeast watching. We've had people in Australia, obviously with Peter Britton and Zach McDonald racing with us this year. They have a following in Australia that are watching. We have, people that have traveled to Florida and Indianapolis and all over the country. That Canandaigua area used to be their home, or the Northeast Big Block Racing used to be their home. They're watching, and the advertisers are benefiting. And we already have more people trying to sign up and get involved.
That's great to hear, Paul. Congratulations for that. Talk about stepping into the new season in a big way, though. That was a violent crash on opening night in the modifieds. How painful is that to watch? First off, you're always concerned for your driver's safety, but to lose a couple of cars on opening night, that's not the kind of thing you take back to the shop and fix overnight. How nerve-wracking was that?
No, it's very frustrating. This is an expensive sport, and our goal as promoters is to try to keep the costs down for drivers. and put on a good show. Obviously, from the marketing aspect of it, that's going to get a lot of viewers. We had tens of thousands of views of that crash, but that's not what we like. We like to see the more spectacular passes and things like that. And you have friends out there, James Sweeting and Adam Roberts. Adam's and I've got be pretty good friends over the last few years. It really disturbed me to watch, and you're just waiting for good news to come out of those. And thankfully, Troyer and Bicknell and TO and the other manufacturers are making such good cars that a spectacular wreck like that, left out nobody. Everybody walked away without a Band-Aid, and that's a good thing. That shows to the fans watching that the sport is designed to be safe and protect not only the drivers but also the fans. We luckily we only had one little part go into the stands, and it didn't go anywhere near anybody. Because the way our safety is set up. In our safety crews, we stage them all around the track. Probably the best money I spend every week, and I tell them every week I prefer them not to be spectators all night. But they're Johnny on the spot the minute something happens like this, and they were with him with less than 4 seconds after the wreck happened.
Paul, that's awesome that everybody's all right. Let's talk shift gears a little bit. Another topic that came up in Western New York this week, and it's something we talk about at all the tracks: kids in the pits. And you chimed in on this one topic. It came up from someone at Bransonville just asking, hey, what's the typical deal? Here in Ontario, we take a lot of flack because even babies pay full price. And the short answer here in Ontario is we don't want your babies in the pits. We would like you to be with your family, but it's much safer in the grandstands, as you saw Erica Bicknell chimed in on that. But then you chimed in that you have a family pass and how important it is to keep families together. Maybe tell us your theory on, families in the pits and what you've done price-wise to keep everything together like that.
So what we do is we aim at the teams. There's a lot of teams that they have family, full family full of race fans that are and race. It's a race family. The kids start out, they're helping wrench right when they're 3-4 years old out in the garage, and to block them out of that part of racing with their family seems a little bit disingenuous to building the future of racing. So what we do is we provide a season pit pass that's available for under the age of 14 for $150. Our weekly pit pass is $40. But for the season, the teams can buy a $150 pit pass that covers that 14 and under for the full season. Under 3, so 2 and under, we don't expect those people to be walking around without a parent attached to them. Certainly infants aren't going to be going anywhere. Same thing. And you have a guy that comes race with you weekly, and sometimes his only family time after he's worked 60, 70 hours a week might be waiting between races. That we offer that as well. So that's a $30 pit pass that we provide for the season for the ones that we consider not to be walkers. And then everything else is full price. If you come once, it's full price. If you come twice, it's full price. And that's to not encourage people to bring kids in the pits, but it's also not to prevent them from doing that either. You just never know who that person is, and what they mean to a team member or to a family member or whatever. But kids that are typically in the pits, that we know it's okay. They're typically around the race shop all week long, and it seems kind of odd to tell them they shouldn't be in the pits. But we have to protect our liability. We have to keep the risk down. We don't want them to bring their friends in and at a discounted rate because their friends typically don't know. But people that are around a race shop every week seems to be a reasonable middle ground.
Well said, Paul. You know what? We didn't want to take up a lot of your time. Most of the reason we wanted to have you on, Paul, was to say congratulations on a great opening. I mean, it's really, really pleasing to see how full your grandstands have been, and we wish you more success. And I'm sure you monitor the sign-ups, landoflegends.tv. I signed up for it because I've been watching because, for one thing, I really enjoy listening to Stephen Evans announce, but I love the racing down your way, so thank you for that.
we're real lucky. I've got a great production team, a great announcer. All the pieces have taken time over the last. This is my 4th year promoting at the Land of Legends, but we've taken a lot of time to invest in these things. Some of the things you're going to be watching, and I'll give you a little hint. We got another camera we're adding this week. We're just got to find the camera person to put behind it. We'll be doing split screens, so you can watch the front of the show and the back of the show at the same time, or the middle, or wherever the action is. We've got other things we're coming along with that we're testing. It's all about the experience for the fan and for the drivers. These drivers, they need this information when they go back to assess what they're going to do next week. Sometimes they can see their lines, they can see how they followed somebody else, they can see what happened in that instant where they got together with somebody and realized that it wasn't as bad or as intentional as they thought it was from inside the car. So having those angles is important for everyone. And our production guys do a great job. Our replays are important. They allow us to make better decisions up in the race tower. And, this production, although it's expensive, is proving its benefits already when we've already gotten, when I literally say, several thousand on the first week alone watching the show, it's going to be a great season.
Awesome, Paul. We'll definitely be in touch. We appreciate your time tonight, and we'll be following it from up here in Canada.
Thanks, guys. And we hope you guys get open soon. We miss our Canadian friends down here as well.
We'll all be racing together
Paul.
soon. Wow, Adam, I love to see the success. Paul's one who kind of bucked the system, went out against the norm, if you will. He is heavily in pay-per-view territory down there. So to be giving away the product like we do at Arshweekend, we're big fans of that. I think you're going to eventually the reach is going to be a lot better. It just seems like they're doing things right.
The key is it's not going to pay off today and it's not going to pay off tomorrow. But the fact that the stands are full, right? So the fact is they're already putting on a good show, and that's when you double down, Clint. You double down when things are good. And over the course of a year or two, it's no surprise. We know what the teams say. And more people come up to you than message me to say, man, this is so cool. It helped us get this sponsor. It helped us get that sponsor. It helped because the mom doesn't like coming to the races. She loves the fact that she can watch from the cottage. The stories we hear, the reasons we hear why people like that there's a stream all add up to more eyeballs on the sport. And it's a win-win.
I got family down east. They get to watch every Friday. It's been great. We hear Johnny Miller. They got all their fan base down in Phoenix or wherever they are. It's awesome. So many great things going on, and we know it's going to pay off. I mean, I saw my memories came up. It was a night of our first stream, and it was 2017 when we really kicked off our stream program. So this would have been our 5th year at it. We didn't get to do anything last year stream, so we did 3 solid years, and just what we saw from that. The momentum and energy that we gain because of it is just going to keep us moving stronger. Now, I think we're going to be very strong too, car count and fan wise also when we get back open. Let's jump back and talk about the Arshweekend situation now. So Adam, when everything broke out Thursday, you and I have been arguing like cats and dogs about our amateur interpretations on how this could go. I'm so sick of hearing Adam Ross's plan to reopen, and I'm sure you're so sick of hearing Clinton Geoffrey's bullshit about how we're gonna not reopen on time. We've even been laid down money. You know how many people messaged me last week and said, I hope you have to pay him $50. I don't like Adam, but I hope you're wrong. Actually, nobody said they don't like Adam, but a lot of people messaged me and said that they hope I'm wrong and have to pay. And I said I hope I'm wrong and have to pay. So it's looking more and more like I might have to pay, but I'd be okay with that. But still, just to clarify, full competition.
Do you know how many people? Practice. Do you know? That's right. Do you know how many people message me, Clint? No. Nobody. Not one.
I was going to guess that.
Nobody likes me that much. Like they don't care. They're indifferent. So you've got your flock, your entourage.
No,
I just
they
come
called
and
to
go.
tell me they hoped you were right, so they weren't definitely my flock. They weren't on my side. So let's throw up the slide, Spencer, of the Arshweekend situation. So at Arshweekend, we're going to go the other way. So with the columns, we're going to go right to left here. So this is right from the Arshweekend Speedway Six Nations Guide to Recovery. This is under athletics. So Glenn has said all along. And anytime I spoke with the Six Nations Control Group, Emergency Control Group, it always referred back to hockey, lacrosse, and baseball, and we're in this group. So this is their plan for them. So right now, we are in alert level 5 black in Ohsweken and Six Nations right now. And when you look at alert level 4 red, all sports and recreations are limited to 5 people per room indoors and 10 outdoors. So we can't really do much with 10 people outdoor. Then you get to orange, it's 25 outdoors, and then still in yellow, it's still only 50 outdoors, and then we can get to 100 outdoor in green. So for everybody at Ohsweken, we are still a lot further down the road to recovery to open than the rest of Ontario. So this is the printed plan from Six Nations, and things could change and be alleviated, but as they sit right now, their printed plan is going to take us a while before we can get the numbers down. With that being said, as Mark mentioned earlier, vaccinations are up. They've got a clinic that's thrashing people through every day up there, and hopefully we get there. But that kind of gave us a plan, and when you look at that, that's a lot more cautious than what Ontario is going to let us do here in about 2.5 weeks. So we watch the Six Nations situation, and you can find that on sixnations.ca if you're looking for that piece of information. Go ahead, Adam. You got something there?
I'll say my piece on vaccinations now. I'm concerned about people who are I've always been concerned about anti-vaxxers because I don't necessarily feel like they're on the side of the well-informed. But I don't, at the same time, everyone's welcome to their own opinion. I've expressed why I think we should be vaccinated. And my reasoning for being vaccinated is if they say it helps the greater good, that's one. If it gets me the hell out of the country, that's two, right? I've got reason to want to travel. I want to go to the United States. I've got my parents' remains, some of which I hope to leave forever in the United States. There's a plot for my mother in the United States, yet my mother remains. So I've got all sorts of reasons why, to me, get the needle, get the vaccination, help us free society. So I don't just say, I tell you why I want you to do this. People who don't want to do it, fine. Don't do it. That's your choice, your body, your right. But I worry a bit if you're campaigning for other people to not get vaccinated. And that's where social media can take on this different meaning. We've got to get to, in order for society to be freed, and nobody is going to change this. You are not going to change the government's mind that we need to get to 70%, 80%, 90%. 90 is about where I see it finishing, Clinton. So that leaves room for 10%. There's 30 million people in Canada. That's 3 million people that don't have to get vaccinated. And if you're one of them that's a total anti-vaxxer, then be one of those 3 million people. But stop trying to encourage other people to buck the system, to rebel against the system, because what are you accomplishing? If you believe that for yourself, fine. I'm telling you why I want people to be vaccinated. I have this list of reasons. If your reason is just I think it's a bad idea, I think it's bullshit. Well, okay, but that's not very informed. Like do some homework and then tell me why. But my concern is if you have a real if you don't try to encourage people to get on your bandwagon, if your bandwagon is going to keep us stuck at home for longer than we already have been, because we're going freaking crazy.
Okay. I don't really know what to say.
But if that's your opinion, respectfully, have that opinion. But just hang on to it. My mom needs you to not.
We're close, buddy. More people are going every day. Even a lot of the people I know who didn't want to do it have kind of given up the battle, so to speak. So, I mean,
it's just a matter of.
I can see my dad at the end, so it is what it is.
We thought social media was toxic before the pandemic, Clinton. It is not. Like, the pandemic has not helped it. Like, there is such a toxic culture. The NASCAR race yesterday was a great example. Like, there's so many examples of, my God, who has this powerful an opinion on something that's not going to change your life? Just back it down a little bit. Your coffee wasn't made right. Sorry to hear it, but you don't need to post about blowing up buildings.
Wow, I didn't see it get that far, but I'm sure it did. Where do you want to go from here? We can talk about mid-race prayers. We can talk about, can we just race the race? Damn it, 200
Well, I
mile an
think
hour photo shoot at Indy, and we need more open trailers.
Are we done with kids in the pits?
Unless you want to bring something up about it.
Not really. No, I just wasn't sure if we. I thought Paul did a really good job of explaining it, and so did you. We don't want kids in the pits, but if you're compelled to do so for your reasons, then do it. There again, it's not a. Now, Oshwegan is a great example. There's a phenomenal junior fan club, amazing prizes. There are amazing reasons for a junior fan to stay on the grandstand side and take in the show that way. But I also understand, like Paul said, people want to spend family time, and now also race car drivers can be awfully freaking young at a lot of places, 11 years old at some places, so they have to be led in the pits.
I like to think I can still learn things about this business, and I thought I learned something by Paul's conversations tonight. And one of the things was, these are family guys who maybe only get to spend this. This is the one night a week that they get to be with the kids, or the kids get to come to that one track because the other one's too far and too late by the time dad gets home. So, Friday or Saturday nights is the one track they get to go to. And I think he explained it very well, because I have always been of the, we understand if you want your kids in the pits, it's going to cost you, but he makes sense. And I think by pre-selling it, like he says, you're going to get the racers who are going to bring their kids every week. Yeah, we don't want their guests. It's not a big deal. It's not a huge price for somebody new to come in, or a huge price discount, because we just don't want new people running around who don't understand. I think our situation this weekend is a lot more dangerous just because of sprint cars for some reason. There's just typically a lot more moving parts there with push quads and mules and cars being pushed off for heating the motors. And if we had our way, if I had my way, I'd redo the whole pits to put all that sprint car stuff way in the back, away from the grandstand area. And but it's just dangerous, and we've seen it. We've seen it at the major events when traffic in the pits is just insane at Oshwegan. And so typically we don't do that, but I think maybe we do have to revisit a family racer plan for the kids, and they're bringing them in anyways. We don't want to encourage it, but we don't want to beat them up either. I thought it was some good points there by Paul.
Yep. So let's go down the list in order, because mid-race prayers. All we're going to say, there was a bad wreck at Berlin Raceway. 2 drivers were seriously injured, transported to hospital. There was a long delay, and I mean, it was a bad wreck. They both had to be cut out of their race cars. I don't know the condition really don't fully know the condition of either driver. But when they resumed the program, they reopened with another prayer, and I thought, wow, that's really unique. I didn't know how to take it, because Berlin took the approach of drivers have been transported to hospital. They were communicating with the safety crew. At least one was communicating with the safety crew. I don't know if David Fretz was his injury. He was unconscious, according to media reports, when they got to the car. Boris Yurkovich fractured both of his legs, so 2 broken legs. He was communicating. So it's where, Clinton, you sort of you have to go into an explanation. The most responsible explanation is to say, responsive, being transported for further evaluation, and move on. So to do that and then give a prayer, and Clint, we've been there. We've been through serious situations, and some worse than others. It almost felt morbid to me. It felt a little bit creepy before they restarted the program, but at the same time, maybe it's exactly what was needed.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on prayers go back to kind of what can we just race the race means is, you know, you and I were arguing about propaganda and a bunch of other stuff on the weekend, and I just, that made me type in, can we just race the race? Why do we have to talk about politics? Why do we have to have a prayer? I mean, in some instances, it even makes you wonder, should we even be doing the anthem now? Because even that's so much controversy. Like, can we not just make everything about the sport that we're there to watch and play, or be a part of? I think my biggest frustration is when you start bringing propaganda, politics, all that in. I mean, we saw it last year. NASCAR was accused of being, quote, woke. There was a lot of politically charged things that they were doing last year that just turned the regular fan off. And you know what? Like, I mean, I'm trying to think of what it would be, and I'm not a religious guy, right? So maybe I'm in that deal. But what if I'm highly religious but not Catholic or Christian? Should I have to hear that flavor of prayer? Maybe I want to hear it. Why aren't you saying my flavor of prayer? And that takes me back to, this is something that Land of Legends did, and I'm not going to throw Paul under the bus. They have 2 Australian drivers who race there. So they play the Australian anthem. And hey, that's cool. I get it. But what happens if you have drivers flying from Spain, Scotland, England, France, China, and Australia all one night? So now are we listening to 8 anthems because you have participants from those classes? The Olympics only play the winners. So if Peter Britton wins at the end and you want to play the Australian anthem, I get it. But I mean, I bucked this at Maryville when we had them come in. First time Peter Britton came over, and the owners were saying we need to get the Australian anthem, and I'm like, well, why? It just, am I out of line? Am I being inconsiderate or rude at him? Because if I am, tell me. To me, it just seemed like, well, where do we draw the line?
No, and you're not wrong, and I don't think you're right either. To me, and I'll go back to an analogy that I use quite a bit, and then I'm going to talk about why I got so mad at you the other day. A race tells a story, a season tells a story. To have a story, you need a good open, a good close, and then the middle's got to take you places. It's got to take you on a journey. What starts the show? How lame would it be if the clock hits 7:30 and then your first heat of mini stocks rolls up out of the corner and you go racing? It's not a solid opening. I think there has to be some kind of, hey, the show is beginning. Even at the movies, you've got previews, but then you've got that big Dolby surround sound, whatever comes on. It might sound corny, Clinton, but I think you do need to mark the start of the event. Hey, game on. Now here's where things get going. And then on with the night. Maybe you're right. Maybe you play the anthem of the winner at the end of the night. I'm okay if it was decided that the prayer should come out from before a race. That's fine, because I think if you're religious, you don't need to say a mass prayer. You can say a prayer on your own. Whether you're a driver, a crew member, or a fan, go ahead and do that. Maybe we say, this is our one minute before the race starts, where we're going to go silent. Do your thing. And people can do whatever they want. They can meditate for that minute, whatever you choose to do. But I don't think that would be a very compelling opening either. So in that sense, I like the anthem to start. You need something to kick off the event and get things going. Or write your own theme song. Write your own theme song for Ashweekend Speedway and play that to start every night. Play Derek Miller's. There has to be. So that's my reasoning. Not so much tradition, but something's got to kick things off. Something has to open it. And this is why I was mad at you, because you said, can we not just get rid of religion, politics, and propaganda? Get rid of propaganda, yes. Clinton. We wouldn't need announcers. No announcers. Don't need it. It's propaganda. Right? Like, well, you need propaganda. That's
same as you went on a tangent about mini stocks and sprint cars. I'm like, oh my God, it's 10 a.m. Drink your coffee and wake up. I'm talking about political agenda propaganda that leans one side or the other. So jumping in and saying, hey, everybody should be thinking this way, everybody should be thinking that way. Sports should stay out of it and keep all your politics off the ice, out of the speedway. Let us have our sport. Let it be pure. You want to build the sport back up to get good fans? Let it be pure. And let me get back to the anthem for a second. I am by no means an anti-patriot. I mean, I lost my
No.
grandparents both
No,
fought
and
in
I
the war.
understand that.
My
Yeah.
kid's a junior soldier here in the Army. I'm all about standing in and honoring the anthem, but I also understand if it went away from racing, if it doesn't have its place in sports anymore, I could understand that. But if that anthem played, I'm standing up there with my hat off at attention, and no matter where we are, we're standing in place. We're not moving. We ain't walking back with popcorn. You hear that anthem, you'll see me standing still. But back to that, your argument is kind of lame, though, Adam. That we need something to start, so it has to be the anthem. I mean, there could be lots of other things
No,
we
I
could get.
didn't say it has to be
But
the anthem, but I said the event has to have a clear opening, a clear close.
and you're not wrong. And let me take you
The
back to
anthem,
when we first started Ash Weekend.
well,
They didn't play the anthem,
and right,
and we started playing the anthem. You know why? Because we needed a clear
no,
opener, so everybody would know at 7:30 that the races were starting. So you're not wrong in your argument, and that's why we did it. But
yeah, you just called me lame in my argument. So I think you can look at things a number of different ways. The other reason, Clint, is we are not that far removed from most of the world living with freedom. Right? We've been blessed with freedom for a long time in the United States and Canada, and that is a lot of the reason why you perform the national anthem at the start of an event, is to celebrate what we are about to do. And what we're about to do is enjoy as a group a passion that we have, which we are free to embark on. Okay, so freedom is a big part of that. Now, a lot more of the world is celebrating freedom than did 30 years ago, 50 years ago, when a lot of these traditions started. But I still think it's very important that we recognize those freedoms, because if you forget what you're free to do or why you're free to do it, that's a scary thing too. There's a intelligent saying that goes with it. What is it? If we forget history, we're doomed to repeat it or destined to repeat it. I'm not saying it's going to lead us down a terrible road, but you do have to remember certain things of why we do these, why we stand up and pay tribute, not just to the people who have died for our right to be free, but the fact that we are free.
And I wasn't really
that.
trying to jump on the anthems tonight. I mean, the anthems are the last thing I think we need to get rid of. It's all the other propaganda and
Now,
stuff.
lame anthems, get rid of lame anthems. I'm not a big fan of them. What else was I going to say about that? I had another thought. I did. This politics. No, we'll go back to your lame anthem story because I'm still fired up about this. Ronald Reagan landing on the backstretch at Daytona International Speedway in 1984 was a huge moment for NASCAR racing. It put NASCAR racing to a level it had never been before. It gave it recognition. Sure, it made racing political, Clinton, but a lot of what racing was there's 250,000 like-minded Americans in the same venue for the same reason. They are all leaning towards Ronald Reagan, and Ronald Reagan was leaning back towards them. It was a big moment. So to say we shouldn't be political is not always true, because it took NASCAR racing and put it in a place that it had not been before, and it stayed elevated for decades. And that was a lot of it. And it was political, but that was because you could say, look at this event right here. Look at the number of voters that are at this event. And most of them, almost all of them, will vote for you if you show up and do your thing. And that was the big thing for the Republican Party. It was a big thing for NASCAR. So yeah, sometimes it's going to be political, Clinton, and sometimes it can't be.
My rebuttal to that would be that Ronald Reagan came out, he enjoyed the race, he actively participated in the announcing of it. They didn't pass out vote for Reagan signs to everybody who was there. They didn't throw their party message down your throat. He came out and enjoyed the race. And that, to me, I would say that was smart propaganda, if you want to call it that. It was politicking, maybe, because he was making this public appearance. What I'm talking about is when the sport actively gets in and pushes one side of the political party's argument in ads, in billboards, all of that, and they should stay out of it.
I'm not for that. So I'm not for that. And as a result, I'm really not pleased with the teachers' unions right now. I hope I don't offend any teachers we have out there. I like teachers. I don't like your unions and some of the smear ads that they're running right. We're in the middle of a bloody pandemic. Take your flipping smear ads off the freaking air because nobody wants to hear it. Let's get back to business, and then you can run your smear campaigns. But that sort of stuff pisses me off, and I'm glad we don't have that in racing, and you're good to protect us from that. That's us agreeing.
So you just put me against the whole teachers union. Thanks a lot.
No, I just agreed with it. No, you're right. No.
We don't need that in racing, and you're going to protect us from it. Get them out of here.
No. We can have teachers. Just leave the unions at home.
I sneezed. My nose won't stop running. Let's jump into quickly. We need more open trailers. Show this trailer, Spencer. We're not going to dwell on this too much, but this is one of the trailers from those states. Look at that, Adam. It's half enclosed. We need more open trailers because that's going to make people follow these cars to the races. That is a beautiful rig.
Yep. And if I'm not mistaken, is that a half-ton truck pulling it?
Yeah.
So you don't need a toter home. You don't need stacker trailers. That trailer's got everything you could need. Like, I love it. I want to see who built that. I would use one of them in a heartbeat.
Awesome. Okay, next up.
And the reason, so let's say why. The obvious why. It promotes the sport. When you're driving from your shop down the road in an enclosed trailer, people don't really grasp what's inside of it. When you drive this sucker down the road, and sometimes we have to point out the obvious like this, Clinton, you're promoting the sport. Kids are going to point and say, what the heck is that? I want to see it.
So I was explaining to Christine, we drive the pace truck around, and sometimes the kids are always pointing, and I was talking about it, I said, you have no idea how cool it is to drive with a race car on the back, and every kid at every stoplight is, oh, look at that go by. It's neat. Let's jump into our Burger Barn video of the week. This is our Watch for Flying Everything. This was at a truck show. Looked like they were doing a dyno pull at them, and we have signs that are speaking and say, Watch for Flying Everything. Could be a clump of mud, could be a part. This is why you sign your waiver. This was Pistons coming up into the grandstands, and I've never seen this
make
before.
Make sure the volume is up when we show this.
Yeah, we'll apologize for the bit of language in this. So if you're offended by language, you might want to say goodnight to us now. We got about 3 minutes to go on the show. Roll it, Spencer. Parts flying up all over the place.
You can hear the piston hit those aluminum grandstands. That's wild. That reminds me of a time probably 25 years ago at Flamborough Speedway when I first started working at the track. We're up in the tower and there's a demolition derby. And one of the cars got just off the track on the front stretch, and it had already blown one of its tires. And he hits the gas, and that rear tire is spitting up all the rocks from the inside of the racetrack, and they are pelting off the tower window. People are running for cover. They're saying over the PA, stop him, stop that car, stop that car. It was wild.
I guess we're down to two last topics. 200-mile-per-hour photo shoot at Indy. Adam, you shared this. Pretty crazy. The Ray Hall team trying to do a three-wide photo shoot. The team behind them doesn't realize it's coming. It runs them over from the back.
Allegedly. So allegedly there's a photo shoot coming out of turn 4, but this was not communicated to all the spotters because there was a car coming through turn 4. So the 3 cars on the front stretch, not really up to song just yet. And then a car coming off of turn 4, and then another car that swings to the outside. It's just way too much carnage going on. So here's the photo shoot, and look way up to the top. They're fanning out, run out of room, and there's some big time damage. And look at, a green flag is being waved on the inside of the track. A yellow flag is being waved on the outside of the track. So I have to believe there was probably a meeting of the minds at some point after this to say we need to be a little smarter, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward.
Yeah, crazy stuff there, and super dangerous at those speeds. We'll follow those throughout the next couple weeks as we follow the Indy situation. Our last one, Adam, Circuit of the Americas in the rain. It was poured all weekend on the NASCAR guys. I thought it was entertaining. It was a total crapshoot all day. Didn't know who it was going to be. I was a little disappointed they pulled it because I thought they could have went. Was it just a case that the day was too long and they'd had enough rain, or was the situation that they thought it was too dangerous? We do have a clip of Kevin Harvick. We'll play that first, then we'll get your thoughts. Roll the Kevin Harvick clip, Spencer. This is Harvick's statement after. He did not have a good day.
We don't have any business being out in the rain, period. So, all I can say is this is the worst decision that we've ever made in our sport that I've been a part of, and I've never felt more unsafe in my whole racing career, period.
So, Adam, valid statement or sour grapes from Harvick?
Valid statement, but what they did racing in the rain was entertaining, fun to watch, showed an amazing amount of agility by these drivers prior to it becoming too wet. So let me explain. Rain tires are designed to run on a wet track. They are not designed to run through standing water or in a downpour. That's not the way this is set up to work, the way NASCAR's wanted to go racing in the rain. So it's two different stories this weekend. One shows what a great job you can do racing on a wet track and what a beautiful demonstration of ability you can have. The other side is, once visibility gets to a point where it's raining so hard they can't see, or the rooster tails off the cars are so bad that visibility becomes a problem, you've got to shut it down, Clinton. And anybody involved in road racing, I challenge anyone to disagree with me. We have seen it time and time again where tracks have run in the rain and then they've shut things down in the rain because it got to a point where rain tires are not a guarantee that you get to go racing. There is still a point where you have to stop the competition, and they had passed that point because visibility had gotten silly.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think if there was a better illustration of it, I think it would have been the Cole Custer Truex wreck. You look at Truex, he couldn't see, he ran into McDowell. Then Custer comes up the inside, thinks he's making gains, has no idea Truex is there, and he just drives right through him. At that point, you kind of realize, they might have to do something here. But I thought the entertainment value was amazing. What I liked about it, the parody we were talking about with the guys I was watching it with, that it almost seemed like the dirt race as far as an unknown who it was anybody's race, you know what I mean, going into it. And I thought the entertainment value was great. You saw some comers and goers, as they like to say, and some of the guys who were, maybe not supposed, like for a guy like Austin Cindric to go up and lead and dominate that race for as long as he did. It's exciting for their team. I think we need more of this type of variety, being the dirt and, these types of road courses. I loved it.
Now,
I thought it was great.
I've got that wreck with Cole Custer and Martin Truex and Michael McDowell. So you watch from the top, there were so many cars running so many different speeds and so many different lines. At some point, Clint, just because the green flag is out, just because that race is going on, does not mean you have to be in the middle of that pack. Nobody rags on the drivers on a restrictor plate track when they drop behind the draft and just cruise around because they want to avoid the big one. So there was nothing forcing those drivers to be racing in the middle of that nasty pack. If you ran on your own, and I mean, scary. If you were on your own, it's a 20-turn racetrack. It's more than 3 miles. You could find real estate. So don't get me wrong, I'm not blasting Kevin Harvick, but there is an option to say, if I'm Kevin Harvick, say, look, this is nonsense. It's dangerous. I'll be running half a track behind, and we'll get to the last stage, and we'll decide then. And maybe then he still decides, look, this is bullshit. I'm not getting involved with that, and hang back again. So we don't rag on them at the restrictor plate tracks for them. Nobody is forcing them to run 4 wide down that straightaway.
You bring up a good point. To me, it seems sour grapes. I think if Harvick had a better day, he might not be so upset. They catch him at the infield care after he comes out of an accident finishing 37th. I don't think you're going to be happy anyway. You slice it.
I'm glad he spoke his mind. I'm glad he spoke his mind because I think it was valid. What Martin Truex said was valid. What Cole Custer said, what all of them said was valid. But as and NASCAR should not be racing in those conditions. But we knew that. So Clint, to be fair, with the NASCAR Pinty series, we've been racing in the rain for 15 years. I've seen it. I've seen it rain so hard at Three Rivers that tires started floating away in the pits because there was 6 inches of water. We weren't on the track racing at that point. We were under a weather delay.
It takes
But
us
once
back to
the
Victoria Day
downpour
weekend.
stopped,
Your weather talk about Victoria Day weekend. This is traditionally the kickoff at Moseport CTMP for the Pinty's cars. And I don't remember a spring where it was nice. It was always cold and rainy on that Sunday of Victoria Day weekend at CTMP. So, I don't know, another show bites the dust.
I think it was the first NASCAR race, but it might have been CASCAR at Moseport. And they were racing in the rain, Clinton, and I could see drivers because we would stand up on the inside of turn 10. You could see the window nets of these cars bulging out. And it's because drivers had loosened their seat belts and took their head right out the side window of the car so they could see because the windshields were too hard to see through and too fogged up. So you want to talk about sketchy decisions and bad choices and tough races to run in and the lengths people will go to. Oh, the other thing, drivers were getting out of their cars. And I mean, this is what I was surprised they didn't stop the race because drivers were climbing out of their cars while other race cars are still at high speeds. They might not have been at green flag speeds, Clinton, but they were at speed. That would have been horrifying to see one of those cars get hit with the driver halfway out.
There's a good example of it.
And I don't, you can't blame a driver for wanting to get the hell out of there, but boy, oh boy, be thankful.
I think they learned a lot. That's a fix to keep that going. But that'll do it for tonight's show. We want to thank everybody for coming on, Paul and Mark, for jumping on board. It's always good to hear the other promoters and what they've got to say on both sides of the border. For our racing family, we're going to be back at you soon with a full slate of action on G-Force. And before we know it, we're sure you will all be able to join us at the track soon. And thanks, Spencer, for all you do. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. Let us know who you want us to get on in the coming weeks, and we'll reach out to them and be sure we get them here on Rivalz Race Chat. Thanks, Adam, and we'll talk to you again next week.
See you next week, guys.